I am Ashwani Mishra, founder and CEO of BlinkCMS. I have accompanied by my friend Vinoth, who is another co-founder of BlinkCMS, and today we are going to talk about a very important update, which is very important for news ecosystem as well as how internet works, which is Google I/O 2025. This event was hosted on 21st May, and let me put some questions across to Vinoth, who has been following all the AI development and this event particularly. So let's start this conversation. This is quite casual conversation, so I hope you'll enjoy it. So Vinoth, hi. Can you little bit brief about what is this Google I/O, how it is going to impact search in general, and then we can probably get into how this is going to impact news ecosystem.
Sure, Ash. I think this Google's I/O 2025 was one of the path-breaking, I would say, meetings from Google. Typically, this follows Apple's conference of having a regular update to the world. But I think this particular update about what Google is telling the world that it is planning to do with AI has a significant impact across all walks of life, not just the news ecosystem. If you actually look at the main features which they talked about in this particular update, starting with say AI mode of search versus each and everything, be it a creative field, be it a coding field, or any other field, Google has an AI update for that particular field. I think this particular event is pretty path-breaking in multiple industries. It's not just news publishers which are going to get disrupted, it's the disruption in multiple fields. So that is, I think, the most essential thing which we need to talk about today.
I think before getting into news ecosystem impact per se, let's look at why Google come up with this and what are other areas which as in human, which as in people from across the country can impact into, right? I mean, do you see it like a push on the Google because ChatGPT is there, everyone is coming with their own AI algorithm. Do you see that there's a need from Google to push something, or it was really needed, it is not a political movement per se from the Google?
No, I think Google was having it coming. Like the way ChatGPT is going, or OpenAI is doing Claude and Perplexity, and all these guys are doing like the latest models on DeepSeek. I think somehow Google has got cold feet on that, and they were trying to play the catch-up game. If you actually see, Google has DeepMind, it has the VO things they include. All these things, they are top of it. They are the guys who are custodians of the world's data, if you ask me. And they are taking a cold feet here because of the very fact the way AI is developing at such a fast pace, affecting all walks of life. Even our day-to-day conversations right now, long are the times where I have thought about a letter or an email on my own. Nowadays, whatever I do, I run through a ChatGPT before sending it, at least a courtesy check before I have to send it to my clients.
So I'm assuming rather than using ChatGPT, we'll be using Google's Gemini or their AI models.
Yeah, definitely. I think the spoils are for winners to keep, and I think this is actually a fight for multiple people to get the lion's share of the market.
True. We do. I mean, me myself has been seeing a lot of transitions happening. How we use mails. Even Google are having a lot of suggestions, AI suggestions within the mail. I think they are also talking about AR glasses. They are also talking about a lot of multimedia related AIs. So there is a lot happening in terms of how Google is interpreting the whole content ecosystem. Again, before diving into newsrooms, I still want to little bit elaborate more on how this other part like multimedia or AR glasses or other ecosystems, how this whole Google I/O 2024 going to impact that area.
Yes, actually I made a list of things from looking at this particular I/O event. Let's talk about certain areas. First, let's talk about AI in general. We are talking about the way search is going to change. They are talking about AI mode. They are talking about deep reasoning models. They are trying to get DeepSeek's capabilities, Astra's capability, Project Viewer's capability, all these capabilities getting together onto search. Then we are talking about AI in visualization, AR cameras, how Google Lens is going to change, how shopping is going to change. They are talking about try it now kind of a concept available already in the US.
3D experience.
Right? We are talking about how this is going to change coding forever. There are multiple models of like how Copilot is already there, they are talking about models in that area as well. Now coming to the creator economy, they are talking about VO for videos, Flow for videos, they are talking about Imagen 4 for creating images, they are talking about Notebook LM for generating podcasts. So that's coding, that's creativity. They're talking about the assistant world. They're talking about replacing Zoom with the capabilities of Beam. And more importantly, they are everywhere. They are talking about AI being part and parcels of each and every activity a person does on a day-to-day basis.
They are going to take on multiple companies actually, not just on the browser or content front. I think they are getting into TVs, smart TVs, phones, and multiple IoT devices as well. Pretty much, we can see Google is getting into those areas as well.
I strongly feel that startups are going to have it coming. You cannot be a small startup trying to do something very small value add anymore. You need to see the big picture, and I think the kind of power which Google has, being Google, they get to the battle. They have a large store of ammunition out there. So startups and small guys have their way in terms of from a GenAI perspective. I don't think we have much of a say there. But yeah, using these tools, how do we live in the post Google I/O world? That's what I think probably we need to discuss.
So it's like in necessary evil we need to live with, or maybe a blessing. We don't know whether it's an evil or blessing. Let's dive into that as well. So we know earlier what we have seen. Let's look at Google search model. Earlier what we have seen is that when you search something, it used to render results. So search engine optimization used to be a key area where how you can rank on top. Now that is not happening anymore, at least above the fold. How do you see that? How it is going to impact in general the traffic, in general the search queries, in general the SERP, in general the SEO, discover a lot of areas, how it's going to impact all this? Your thought on this?
Yeah, I think the first thing is people have already started talking about AEOs, answer engine optimizations. Right? People are talking about GEO, generative engine optimization. Even though there is no clear guidance on EO or GEO, it still finally goes down to SEO being done right. Many people are moving away from SEO. The word of SEO has somehow become a taboo overnight. People are starting to tell SEO.
There's a lot of knowledge corruption also around SEO. Nobody knows what SEO is, but everyone talk about SEO. Yeah, please continue.
So that's the point. And coming to real numbers, if you actually see, there's a daily. I think one of the reports from Mail Online, they have told that the number of click-throughs have fallen down in the ranges of 40%.
Yeah, huge.
Now that is huge. If you see the genesis of how Google started, they were actually a custodian of world's data. They wanted to index it, make it relevant for people, and show the best what is based on your relevance. Now, they never were the creators of content themselves. They were actually the custodians of content, but taking content from multiple
aggregators.
Yeah, exactly.
You are giving them a nice word, custodian, but I'll call them aggregators because they mint money on someone else's content. Anyways.
True. But right now, with the way AI is doing, you are no more just a custodian. You are not just the indexer of content who shows the relevant content. You overnight become a person who generates questions and retains the person in your own store. If I actually do a very similar analogy, right? If you probably are into art selling, right? If there's a person who creates an art and sells it through a retail store, think about the retail store becoming a person who copies the art and starts making minor modification in the art and selling it to the thousands.
But we still call it first copy. We'll never call it original.
Probably. So, you can call it first copy.
But if first copy starts selling with more value than the original, isn't it a problem? So what I'm trying to ask you is this: what Google model has always been challenged in terms of ethical practice, in terms of legal practice also. There are countries like Australia and all where Google do pay a certain part of their content aggregation to the countries or the publishers. Now that was when people used to get traffic out of Google. Now Google is going to kill that as well. Google is going to take your content, put into an AI engine, summarize and throw it to user. So as a content creators, you are not going to get any juice out of it, not even the traffic or the revenue So do you see this as an ethical practice? Same is applying to ChatGPT as well. I'm not like categorically saying it is Google. It is in general for an AI engine. Do you see it as an ethical from a content creator perspective? What is your opinion on that?
See, I wouldn't get into the ethical versus non-ethical way of how a technology evolves. Right? It's a business practice end of the day, and that's a clear disclaimer from Google or ChatGPT. If you don't want me to crawl your website, please stop my crawlers from coming to you. So I don't think there's a question of ethics involved here. I think more in terms of how this development in technology should affect people already in this particular using technology and being relevant in the online world. I think that's the question which you need to be answering. So the question of ethics doesn't come here. Let's talk in terms of what is the business value proposition we get and whether someone is getting the value for what they are doing. Are they getting back their returns? That's what I think we need to be concentrating.
Let's get that part then. I mean,
True.
Right?
So
yeah, please continue.
Adding to the point of what a publisher needs to do, I think staying relevant only for the search engine world. See, typically, based on the publishers whom we are working with, close to 70 to 80% of your traffic essentially comes from SEO or social media, right? And the rest 30% is probably their direct traffic from multiple sources or backlinks and things like that. Now, that's a big question. Social media probably not going to be impacted because social media is actually
more like a referral only.
Yes, but this part of SEO and discover traffic is going to be, I don't know, you are going to see a huge difference here.
40% you told 40% direct drop in the direct query itself, so that 40% is straight away gone.
Agreed, and probably this is going to change how business models evolved overnight, right? So we are going to see a lot of disruptions in the market. Small aggregators are probably not going to be out of the small guys. We need to see their relevance in this particular thing because if you see a PTA story, we're almost copied by everyone in the market. Now, all your ChatGPT or your Google needs is one PTA story need to be indexed into their index, and then they are answering everyone else. So there is no need for multiple people showing that content to multiple folks. That model is getting replaced. Now, that said, it kind of coincides with what we are observing in numbers. 40% drop in click-through rate. That's a big number to answer. Now, what does it relate to from a business perspective for a publisher? A publisher should start looking at how they can engage their audience directly. We should not be relying just on a platform like Google or Facebook, and then look at how we can do direct interactions with clients and retain them in their own ecosystem with multiple offerings.
So you're saying that, even I share the same thought that information is not going to be critical anymore. It is the creativity which is going to be critical for a publisher or a content creators. How creative you can be, packaging that information or putting that information across to your reader is going to attract traffic for you. Is that what you meant?
Yeah, I think you are bang on the target. It's not about just the information part of thing or developing story. How do you package it? How do you make it more relevant to your audience? How you can engage your audience not just with the information but also the packaging of the information, and how you can interact with your audience multiple touch points. Gone are the days where you discover people using discover only, right? Or discover only or search only, right? You need to be ready for the AI world. You need to get your content out there in search engines. You need to get it out there in generative AI. You need to be touching points in Instagram, Facebook, all those channels out there, so that you don't represent yourself as a brand.
Let's look at this in big detail. So right now, so far we have talked about how AI is going to eat up into your traffic, how it is going to reduce into your traffic. That we understood that there are challenges and we need to talk about creativity. Let's see the positive side of things. Let's see the positive sides of AI, how AI can help creators, how can they basically gain out of it. I'm definitely losing 30-40%, probably 50% of direct traffic from Google, such my CRP traffic. But how I can leverage AI to probably compensate that, do more story, do more content, and at least be at par what I was earlier. Let's look at that aspect as well.
True, I think that's a very interesting aspect to look at. First thing is, from a guidelines perspective, Google has been very clear about its guideline that using generative AI to just bombard people with too much content is going to act negatively towards you, right? So what is the originality you bring to the content? That is, I think, the prime focus, right? You cannot now start taking someone else's story, do some masala on top of this and serve it as a new dish anymore, right? You need to look at original content coming in and how using that content you can come up with ways to reach out to your client. Now, what AI has made easy for people is doing the bookkeeping, doing the repetitive tasks, in a way, little bit of basic creative work in terms of structuring your document, structuring your video. All those things have made it easy, right? So, as a one-man army or a team which is actually powered by AI, you can overnight start creating quality content when you have original source. I think that is where we need to start out.
Quality, you mean? So, I do agree to your part that quality content using AI. Same time, you're educating that if you use too much of AI, there will be a plagiarism problems. There will be a duplicacy of the content. So, how effectively or smartly one can use this AI? And you'd also like to get bit details on how we are incorporating this in our BlinkCMS, how we are helping publisher ecosystem. But before getting to that, I just want to understand from you in overall perspective how this AI can still be used without actually doing an AI content, with doing an original content. How can I increase my scale and do this content?
So, I think that's a very valid question in terms of without using it to generate the entire content, how can AI enhance ourselves, right? So, let me take an example. When you want to edit your image or you want to do a storytelling in the format of a video, right? The original idea or the information, first-hand information you have is still going to be done by human. So once that is there, how do you develop that or enhance that with AI is where we talk about. How probably a model can be implemented to get a better image or better video, or when you're writing a particular content, how can the AI assist in making it more human reader friendly?
Or even instruction to the AI model can be a creative instruction which can generate something
definitely
out of it.
Given the way world is looking, we are talking about personalized approach. Okay? So a same content can be personalized in multiple ways, and the mechanism of delivery can also change. What is quote in quotes cannot be changed is the original part of the story. Post that, the basic bookkeeping, the basic way you want to present this content to multiple people is completely the.
Yeah, I remember that context of the story. Example, you should take that 5 mare 4 ghayal. That information can never change. It will always be 5 mare 4 ghayal. You cannot make it 4 mare 5 ghayal. But what you can do is you write opinion or write an inside of why those 5 people died, 4 got injured. Basically the different aspect of the story where AI can help you a lot. AI can give you a different new perspective of your thought into a content. You can create a lot of ideas. You can get a lot of ideas. Let's a little bit talk about our product as well and how we are incorporating AI into BlinkCMS. So can you put a bit light on what all this we're doing?
Definitely, Ash. See, our journey with AI started about a year and a half back. Right? We realized that yes, this is going to be the future, and we started incorporating this into our system. Right now, we actually have 2 different approaches. One is actually stay abreasted with what is happening in the market, which is essentially trying to integrate into a ChatGPT or a DeepSeek or a Claude model into our system. So, second is essentially taking an open source approach where we take a model and train it with the client's data, a typical RAG structure. These are the 2 models we started thinking of, and we have actually made good strides in both these places, and we are actually integrating it in part of the product. We are typically not rolled out to anyone, but we have been getting good feedbacks from all the clients who have started using this already. Now, coming to the feature-wise presentation, how we are using AI is not to generate the entire setup, instead trying to enhance it using org personas, user personas and things like that, where we give AI more information about who me as an organization is, using my own data to help me get content aligned with my editorial policy.
Giving more personal touch.
Yes. Trying to be the custodians of what an editorial policy is. Like, they are essentially going to personalize themselves or orchestrate in a way that it is going to make that particular editorial thing stand out in the crowd. That is what we are working towards.
Interesting. So if I look at content ecosystem, I see there are three audiences. What you talked about is from an editorial point of view, which people create content, how good they can create a content. There are two other consumer of the content, which is one is machine. Obviously, the way how Google or search engine takes your content is something controlled by them. What is that AI innovations we are talking about from an user point of view? How a user can get a better insight, consume the content in much engagement manner, get the more information out of it, what is presented. What's your thought on that?
Hey, that's a very interesting aspect to touch on, Ash. See, I've been talking about what happens inside the newsroom. Now, what you're talking about is what happens outside the newsroom when we start reaching out to the users. So the models which you're trying to develop there, we're trying to see how we can repurpose content to be more appealing to our audience or a client audience. Right? So for example, where we can make it into a quiz module, which increases engagement. Can we make it into a concise, small, short story format?
Increases excitement as
Exactly. Or trying to make a news in shorts kind of a setup where you summarize the content and create an application for it. So we are talking about ways in which we can actually present the same content in exciting formats using AI to our clientele or an audience. That is what we are doing outside of the newsroom. So inside we're trying to help our editors do it better and keep the editorial policy in place, and outside we're trying to ways in which we can personalize the content based on the user's appeal.
So, do you foresee that the content consumption can translate into some sort of capsules, packages, so that people really don't have to go those long sort of stories and can get the information in really personalized manner? Do you foresee that also being a future for the content?
See, fundamentally with AI coming into place, right, the reasoning part and the thought process of giving a holistic perspective of a content is being done by generative AI. Right. Now, bits and pieces of information is what any publisher provides to this ecosystem in the hopes that they get some kind of a link back and juice from that. Right? So with that said, I do see a way in which publishers define their content in a very objective fashion, so that anyone, not only search engine, even generative engines, take hold of this content and they engage their audience with this content, and in turn trying to establish our brand presence also in these platforms. So definitely packaging content into more consumable formats objectively is, I think, is the way forward.
Or maybe down the lane there's a lot of people are coming up with these subscription ideas wherein they can put certain summary or bullet points for the user to engage first and then probably pay for the content, because monetization is also a challenge, which is a topic we'll take separately some other time. Today we are pretty much focused on how AI can be a evil or a blessings to you. AI is something I personally feel is a good evil. You have to use it wisely. If you use it rightly, you can make use of it a lot. You can create an engagement, you can go miles. If you don't use it wisely, probably you can end up losing a lot of traffic from search engines, because they do promote AI, same time they do penalize for you if you don't use it wisely. Any last thought on the before we wind it up?
Yeah, I think this is still fresh grounds. There are a lot of different experiments which need to happen in this environment, and these are existing times to be as a technology partner and be in the media domain. So at this point of time,
thanks Vinoth. Thank you guys. This is all from us, and probably next time we'll talk about how effectively you can use AI or some other model to make better revenues. I think that will be a good topic to discuss next time.
Yeah, definitely. I will probably create a module in terms of what are functionalities we are developing on AI from our perspective as well.
I think we should talk about revenue part also pretty soon, because that's a pain point for everyone, including us.
Yeah.
So thank you guys. Thanks for your time, and
we'll see you soon.
We'll see you soon.
See you guys.